Hello everyone, welcome back to Favorite Sembang Santai. I'm your host Zura Huzali, and today we're talking about something that affects almost everyone, whether you're a lecturer, teacher, student, parent or employer. AI is already inside education. Students are already using ChatGPT, Me Too, and other AI tools to explain difficult subjects, generate ideas, write codes, prepare presentations, and sometimes, finish the assignments very quickly. Then we have another technology that perhaps received less attention today, the metaverse and immersive technology. So the question is no longer, will these technologies enter education? They are already here. The bigger question is, what should educators do about them? And to take us deeper into this topic, we have none other than Dr. Mazlan Abbas, the co-founder and CEO of Favorite. Assalamualaikum and welcome back, Doctor. Woohoo!
Waalaikumsalam. Okay, terima kasih Zura.
Welcome.
So, and I think you have started with the right question.
Okay.
For several years, many years, people kept asking, what is AI? What is metaverse?
Yep.
Metaverse ni in the world of Facebook, they will call the metaverse lah. So, but I think we have passed that stage lah.
Okay.
Today, I think the better question is, what are we going to do with them? Yeah. And even more importantly, what actually the value that we can create with them lah.
Okay. So today, Doctor, we are not going to spend 30 minutes explaining what ChatGPT is lah kan, Doctor?
Hopefully not. I think most people already know what AI can do, actually at the basic level.
Yep.
So what interests me more is what happens after everybody has access to it. Even the school children have access to it,
Yes,
Azura.
yes.
So because every student now can answer the questions within seconds.
Betul.
You type it and you can answer. So what happens to the education?
Okay.
Yeah? More importantly, what happens to the educator?
Ah.
Are they required?
Oh no.
Are they needed more, or what happen
Okay.
when the student can get the answer very fast?
Understood. Stay tuned, everyone. Stay tuned. Okay, Doctor, before we get into AI, I want to go slightly bigger. You often talks about Society 5.0 and Industrial Revolution 4.0. Sometimes people hear this term and think, another buzzword. So what do they actually mean, Doctor?
So if we simplify this thing, they describe two related changes. One actually from the European side, the German, they call it Industrial Revolution, but the Japanese side call it society lah. So in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, which we are now, mainly we talk about how the industries are now becoming more connected, more intelligent through the usage of IoT, AI, cloud, all that. And machines are now can sense what is happening. They can communicate information, analyze it, and respond. So we talk about the industry type. On Society 5.0 is much more the human side. So the Japanese prefer that way. So we started with the hunting societies, move into agriculture, and then industrial society, information society, and now towards what we call super smart society.
Okay.
So the important part is that the people now still remain at the center. So technology is supposed to help people to help solve the problems and social problems.
I see. So Society 5.0 is not saying put AI everywhere, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen AI everywhere lah, almost nowadays kan.
Yeah.
So putting AI everywhere doesn't actually automatically improve anything.
I see.
So the question should always be, what problem are we solving? Yeah, and that applies to anything lah, to the government, the industry, and also the education sector.
Okay. Doctor, and AI itself has changed dramatically. We went from simple rule-based systems to the generative AI that people are using nowadays.
Okay, yes, it's true. So AI started with very simple symbolic reasoning and rule-based systems. They later came out with some machine learning, deep learning, and eventually the generative AI.
Yep.
So now we are moving towards multimodal. Multimodal AI ni, they can understand text, images, the voice, the video, and then become in sensor information. There's a lot of mode of data lah that comes in.
Okay.
So we are also seeing AI agents.
Okay.
AI agents that can plan the task, use the tools to carry out several steps rather than simply answer one question just like ChatGPT lah. So AI is now moving towards from answering towards doing.
Okay. And what about metaverse? Because a few years ago, everybody talk about it. Today, AI seems to have stolen the microphone. They not.
Yeah, they stole the microphone and everyone become dumb. No one can have a voice anymore. They always listen to AI talking in everywhere. Kan?
Kita pun terasakan.
IoT seems being lost. There's no mic for IoT.
Right.
Only AI have the center stage.
Yes.
No, actually, the underlying technologies didn't disappear. Okay, so the term metaverse became actually less fashionable. While virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, digital twin, spatial computing continued to develop lah. So it's still there. Yeah?
Okay.
So I think the future will be less about everybody entering one giant virtual world. And more about useful immersive experience lah.
Okay.
So I think the immersive experience actually the best part is education. That will be a very good example.
I see. Okay, let's talk about, you always mention about made in Malaysia versus made by Malaysia. What's the difference?
Oh, very sensitive, Zura. Very sensitive.
I'm sorry to ask a sensitive question.
Yeah, because people always buy something outside Malaysia. Not made in Malaysia, but outside from Malaysia. You know, what happened to Malaysian made technologies and products?
Right.
Okay lah. Okay. So I think there are two differences lah when we talk about the in and by. So made in Malaysia tells us where something was produced.
Okay.
You know, you can produce outside technology but within Malaysia. So it's not us. Someone else new technology.
Yes.
But you can also produce our own technology.
It's not original lah.
Malaysia lah kan. So there are two things that can happen lah. But made by Malaysia asks a more challenging question. Did we actually create it? You know, are we only users or consumers of technology, or can we actually become producers? So when we become producers, it become made by Malaysia. So that distinction matters in education too. So what you want, if you want to teach the students, Zura, only how to use existing tools. So we are producing good teaching, good technology consumers. So they consume only the technology, consume only the tools. But can they build something else, something different? Can they build something by themselves? Can they solve a problem? Can they turn the knowledge that they have gained into something more useful? So if they can't, then we are not producing anything.
Right.
So this is the education sector have to have this in mind, so that these people, the students, when they go out to the market, they can produce things rather than just consume things.
Understood. And this actually connects with your own experience building Favourite, right, Doctor?
Yeah, for many years we have talked about made by Malaysian.
Yes.
So we are proud to have that
MySTI
certified. It's a local made product.
Yes.
And yet people still question whether how good are you with open source lah, another platform lah, kan? The question comes from internal, the local people who ask about that question. But anyway, we shouldn't ask that. We should be supporting. Yeah, we have built something locally. That's good. Yeah. So my background, Zura, I started with academia.
Okay. Yes.
And then research, teaching, all this knowledge gave me something like the technical foundation. But then I moved to the industry. Then I met a lot of customers, see how the operation looks like. So they have different deadlines, commercial realities lah, and many constraints that you don't always experience in a lab or in the university lah.
Yep.
So when we started in 2017, the question became very different. You know, so when we build things, so initially we asked, do we understand IoT?
Okay.
So now we have to ask again, can we build our own IoT platform? Instead of just understanding, can we build? Then another questions, after we have built, will anybody actually use it?
Yeah.
So that's a much harder question. So questions keep on cropping in and pushing us further lah.
Right, because technically working doesn't mean commercially useful, right, Doctor?
Yeah, many times that we have built things, technology, but sometimes it doesn't useful, cannot be commercialized lah. So you can have a very brilliant prototype, but sitting in the lab,
Yes.
nobody use it, nobody pay for it, nobody even care to give feedback.
Yep.
Technically, perhaps it's successful, it works, but has it created the value? So if not yet, I think most important is a product has to leave the lab.
Yeah.
Leave the lab and meet the customer, the real customer.
Yes.
Then the customer tells you things that you don't necessarily want to hear lah. Baru you tahu whether the langit is tinggi atau rendah.
Yes, and that's normally the useful feedback.
Yeah, useful feedback, but it's something hard to chew. You have to
Improve lah.
improve it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's when you are able to improve a lot of things lah, kan?
Betul, yeah.
So then you understand your progression becoming very clear. But the most important part is the knowledge that you have gained, the experiment that you have done, the product that you have developed, the customer that you have met, the value that you have made. And I think education also can learn from the same progression that what we have doing.
Right. Okay. This is where I think the connections get interesting, Doctor. What does building an IoT company have to do with teaching students?
More than I expected. So when we first built Favorite, the objective is simple, is connect the dots, connect the sensors and collect the data, create the dashboard. That's it, kan?
Yep.
But after years of working with IoT, we realized something. Connecting things is not the real goal. Meaning, okay, you might able to install 1,000 sensors.
Okay.
Yay, 1,000. Wonderful. So after collecting millions of data points, so the question is, so what? You have a very good dashboard. So what? Can somebody understand what is happening?
Yeah.
Can they identify the problem? Can they recognize something happened? Can they decide what needs to be done? What needs attention? Can they actually act upon the data before it's too late? So that thinking has moved us from IoT towards AIoT and then towards what we now describe as operational visibility.
Yes.
So to solve the operational blindness, that simple idea is what we call the connect, see and the act.
Right. Okay, so the data itself has limited value until somebody understands it and acts on it.
Yes, correct. And suddenly I realized education is the same thing. Has the same thing. You have the data. Now we talk. AI can generate huge amounts of information.
Yes.
And education also the same thing. IoT actually can generate huge amounts of information. Okay.
Lot of data.
Then AI will try to understand the AI. AI will explain something. It can summarize something. It can answer a question.
Yes.
But information is not automatically understanding.
Yep.
So it's something at a higher level lah. An answer is not automatically learning. So it's just give you an answer, but do you learn?
Well, that's actually a quite big distinction, Doctor.
So I give another example. In IoT system, sensors produces data, dashboard produces the information, but humans still need awareness and judgment, to understand how the graphs looks like and all that.
What it means.
So in education, it's the same thing. So AI produces the information, explanations and answers, but educators now will help the students to interpret this how it looks like, the question, and understand them. In our case, like it goes into the platform, and then the platform have machine learning to interpret the data,
report.
the data.
Yeah,
So
the data.
the educators themselves is another AI to do that.
Betul.
So
Yep.
the AI of the human lah. So that value of that AI part, the value comes from thinking, judgment and creation, which is not easily being done by the machine lah. So my message is very to the educators is simple.
Okay.
Don't teach the users, don't teach the students just to use AI.
Okay.
So teach them to think, question it, build with it, and solve problems with it. Don't leave everything to it.
I leave it to you, AI.
No. The think part, don't leave it to it. Kan?
Okay.
The question, don't leave to it. The building part, don't leave to IT. The solving problem, don't
Okay.
let the AI do everything.
Alright, okay. But doctor, let me challenge you a bit lah.
Challenge panjang je. Malah lah. Nah, I challenge you nanti.
Okay. Okay, a student can now ask AI, explain calculus to me. It's bagus kan? So it can explain in a very simple language. The student can also still say, I still don't understand. And then AI tries another explanation. Then the student say, explain it like I'm 12 years old. It does that too. So, what is the lecturer's role in this, doctor? AI semua boleh buat.
Explain like I'm 6 years old.
I'm 6 years old. Baby pun saya pun nak learn kan. So,
That's why you say, when the AI explain you in a different form, it's not that easy for you to even understand. So you need an educator who actually understand and have the empathy on you lah, Zura. The level of your understanding and try to explain in a different manner.
Okay.
Just looking at a text answer will not give you anything.
Okay.
So a lecturer, a student will have a what?
Apa tu?
The emotion, the human part.
Okay.
Try to explain.
Alright. So you level mana? Okay.
Level mana? Then I have the hands to
Okay.
up and down, shoot here and there kan.
Okay.
The expression. So
Right.
that give different thing lah. Right?
Okay.
So that is probably one of the biggest question facing the education. Yeah.
Okay.
So if the educator's main value is just deliver information, then yes, AI creates a serious challenge because AI can do that. But I don't think that was ever the educator's highest value.
Okay.
So the educator's highest value is developing the understanding, judgment, curiosity, discipline, and wisdom like the Jedi.
Oh. Jedi sudah masuk ini cerita.
No.
Okay.
I mean, you must have all that to give the right judgment.
Understood. Yeah. So the educators moves from being the person with answers to the person guiding the thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So the educator becomes the person who asks, okay, Zura, why do you believe that answer?
Because I believe that. Oh my god. Because I think it makes sense.
Jawab. You must explain. Why do you believe? So the educator have to ask that kind of questions to probe it further.
Okay.
So when you generate your answer, I ask you, why do you believe the answer? Don't believe everything the AI give you the answer because sometimes it hallucinates. So and then you ask, what assumptions did the AI make? You don't know.
Based on what?
Based on what I'm thinking, the data that been given to you, that's it. So
Tak cukup tu.
that's the assumption.
Right.
So, and then the question, can you find another explanation? Or you just accept that answer only? Then can you prove it? Someone asked us that said this is much better than favorite. Can you prove it? So what would happen if one condition change? X equal something, that's under X equal Y.
Okay.
Can you defend? Your conclusion is very difficult. You can write a very good survey, assignment, polish written, and then ask the person to defend. If you cannot defend the conclusion, you just leave your thoughts, your thinking process to the AI. So those are much harder questions that when we talk to the students, this is how we should talk to them lah. Don't worry when they use AI, but we can probe them further lah.
Right. And AI can still participate in that process lah. Masa nak probing tu kan, Doktor?
Absolutely. I don't think educators should fight the AI.
Must be buddy-buddy.
Yeah, so AI can become the teaching assistant lah.
Yes.
So a lot of things AI can do lah, Zura. I think one of the things it can help you to prepare lessons online, outline quizzes, examples, case studies. It can become the personal tutor. Personal tutor when you're at home can provide you explanations further at different levels of your understanding. It can become a reflection mirror, helping to identify repeated mistakes. Why it should be, why you are repeating the same mistakes again. It will help the students a lot. Generate project ideas, simulations,
Okay.
prototypes. But I think the educators remain responsible for the learning intention.
That's an interesting phrase, Doctor. Learning intention.
When you learn something, do you have an intention?
Yes, of course. Why I need to learn that? What's wrong with me? Why am I learning this?
Because AI actually can accelerate the human intention. Because if you have that intention, for example, if my intention is to finish something very quickly, AI will help you to do it very quick. If my intention is thinking, my intention is to avoid thinking,
Okay. Okay.
AI can help with that too. So you don't think, you ask AI to avoid thinking, then you avoid.
Okay.
But if my intention is understanding, then AI can help you compare different perspective, different question, different assumptions, explore possibilities. So the technology doesn't decide what the educational objective. We do. So how far you want to learn, kan Zura? Sometimes you ask the question, you stop there. For me, I always ask not only to this stage. I ask them further and probe further and probe further. Because if you stop there, that's it. Your intention is just to understand this layer saja. For me, I question again and again. Why should this happen? Why should I assume this? What happen if I don't assume this? What happen if there's new parameter? So I always probe further to get my own perspective lah.
But then I think that's why educators are worried, Doctor. Student can finish something so quickly now that sometimes the assignment is completed before the learning even starts.
Exactly. That's what I call the speed without the depth.
Okay.
Traditionally, a student spend several hours. Spend several hours of researching, reading, writing, and then rewriting again. And then some learning happen during that struggle lah. So you understand what happened.
Okay.
This is how we have been doing for many years. Go to the lab, go to the library, try to search. Even to find the book pun you kena buka that kotak to find where exactly the book sits. So today a student can easily they can enter a prompt and receive a polished answer in seconds.
Right.
It looks good. It looks good. It sounds intelligent.
Yes. Very.
But what did the student actually learn?
And banning AI probably doesn't solve this either, Doctor?
So I don't think banning is a suitable answer lah, Zura. So we have to redesign what we actually assessing here. So assignment simply says that, okay, explain the causes of X in 2,000 words.
Okay.
Then AI can do that, probably produce a very reasonable answer. So perhaps the assignment itself needs to change.
How?
So instead of only asking for the final answer, ask students, you have done that, okay, explain the process.
Okay.
Compare these two AI generated answers. You explore, you ChatGPT, okay. Identify weaknesses or your assumptions. Whether that's the right assumptions that you have made. Is this the weaknesses that you are looking at? Then construct your own argument. Can you explain it? Explain it why they made that choices. Then reflect on what changed in their understanding. So after they have look at that, then suddenly they found out, okay, this is how I should make my conclusion, kan? And then, but you also must disclose how AI was used.
I see. Okay, so we are actually moving from what answers did you produce to how did you arrive at this conclusion.
Exactly. That one change makes a huge difference. If I ask you only for an answer, AI can help you hide behind a polished document. So everything looks perfect, kan? But if I ask you, Zura, defend your reasoning, suddenly I can see whether you actually understand it lah.
Struggle ke tak struggle?
So you prepare a lot of ask AI prepare the PowerPoint slides. Then once you prepare the PowerPoint slides, then you can even explain the slides. This is what happened to a lot of us lah.
Right.
Ada question?
Okay. We can stop for a while. Muhammad Aiman. Okay. He's asking, saya tak sure doktor ada buat summary or transcript on every live macam ni. Kalau tak ada, it is going to be great kalau doktor buat summary, raw transcript supaya orang yang tak dapat join live boleh share their thoughts also. Transcript.
Oh, transcript. Dia dalam YouTube.
Yeah, we will
We'll publish it in YouTube. We do have our own transcript, tapi I tak put the whole detail lah dekat sini. Tapi kalau sebenarnya kalau nak bagi transcript balik, I have already recorded here on my plot.
Yeah.
So the plot can either summarize my transcript in a different form using AI. Biasalah when we talk about AI, and I can put that into certain points, important points for you to read lah, rather than you have to read
go through all
my scriptnya inilah kan.
Alright, thank you for that some suggestion, yeah. Thank you. Alright, Doctor, let's sambung back. We've talked a lot about
sambung back.
Continue. We've talked a lot about AI. Let's give the metaverse some airtime lah, Doctor, before it gets jealous kan. So where does immersive technology fit into education?
Okay, you know lah, metaverse ni pakai virtual reality, pakai apa tu, augmented reality lah kan. So immersive technology becomes very useful when physical learning has limitations. So I give you 4 situations lah.
Okay.
When something is too expensive, you cannot buy. You can use that lah. It's much cheaper. Too risky, you cannot go underwater. You know, or too distant, you cannot go to the sky, to the moon and the stars. So you might use that. And too abstract, very difficult to look at, you know, in terms of mathematical equation dan sebagainya. So there are situations where simulation and immersive environments can become very useful.
I see. Maybe you can give us some examples, Doctor?
Okay, you like biology?
Boleh tak? Semua orang tahu. Okay.
Okay lah. You kan science.
Science tak macam
yes. So for example lah, instead of you looking at 2-dimensional diagram of a human organ, you know, skeleton, so you cannot see, imagine lah. So imagine students exploring a 3-dimensional model, so you can turn around the bones and you can see, you know, and viewing its structures at different angle, yeah? So you can see how, you can appreciate how the bones look like. It's inside our body, but you cannot see lah. For physics, for physics, they might visualize electric field or motion. Are you in physics? Do you know how electromagnetic field?
No, I go tourism. I can go Italy by using this augmented reality.
Electromagnetic, kita cannot see the Zura. The electromagnetic field, dia punya how, you know, the north and the south and the movement of the field. So in physics, you can see that. So by immersive technology, you can see how it works. Chemistry, you tahu chemistry?
Okay.
You know oxygen or H2O saja?
H2O, yes.
Other than H2O, nitrogen, photos.
Tak payah lah, I all don't remember.
So actually, chemistry you can simulate reaction lah. Once you put different components of chemistry, then you can see how it actually works lah. Before actually entering the lab.
Okay.
People who wants to learn mathematics, for example. You learn mathematics?
Okay. I can know how to.
So you know how the graph looks like and what changes of the graph. It depends on the certain parameters. So you know, sometimes a 2-dimensional graph and 3-dimensional graph is very difficult to view. Kan? Ada sekarang ada 3, 4 dimension, 5 dimension.
Right.
So that immersive technology will give you the appreciation of, you know, how it works.
I see. So AI give answers, while immersive technology give the experiences.
Yeah, like you said, like you cannot go to Japan, ke Korea, ke, so you just use that and you can have the immersive experience you are there.
Right. Okay.
So a simple way of putting it, they complement each other. Okay. Imagine a student entering a virtual lab, and then there is AI pula. AI is tutor there. Not using AI to answer, but the AI tutor is there. The student conduct one experiment, and then the AI will ask the question to the students. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? What happen if you change this variable?
Wah.
So now the AI tutor now become replace the educator.
Lagi pandai tanya-tanya soalan dia.
Okay. So now we are moving from simply consuming information towards interacting with knowledge.
Nice.
But you got to remember, the one that asks the questions, the AI,
Hmm.
actually being input by the educators.
Right. Okay. I mean, that sounds much more interesting than putting on a headset just to attend a virtual meeting.
Yeah, virtual meeting, kita meeting macam ini pun dah okay dah. Apa yang nak pakai
Ya.
virtual.
No need.
So technology needs a reason to exist. So we shouldn't use immersive technology just because it looks impressive kan. It seems like, oh, we are talking to you in front of you. Very expensive. So if a normal diagram works better, use the diagram lah,
Yeah.
kan. If physical equipment is available and safe, use it.
Yes. Okay.
So if meeting people like this, you might as well meet the people. Don't use the immersive lah kan.
No need. We meet physically.
Meet physically. Then you have coffee and tea.
Yeah. I love coffee.
So the technology earns its place
Okay.
when it improves the learning experience lah.
Right. Okay, Doctor, let's talk about educators themselves. Okay, if education is changing this much, what skill should educators develop?
What do you think?
Banyak. I think a lot they have to learn now.
So now they have a new challenge lah, kan? Okay. There are five areas educators needs to upskill lah.
Okay.
One is the AI literacy. Of course, educators should understand what AI can do, but also its limitations. But you know that it hallucinates, the bias and the risk. The second thing you need to understand is the learning design. So can we design activities that require different analysis, questioning, creation, and also defense of your ideas. So that is different activity lah altogether. And then third, the ethics and integrity. Then we need to tell the students they need to have a clear boundaries around acceptable AI and the disclosure. They cannot hide behind AI. If they use AI, that's use AI. Tak apa.
Okay.
Then we have to assess them differently lah. The fourth is actually data informed teaching. So once you have that, the educators can actually use AI to recognize patterns of the student performance. So then after that, it will use them to improve the teaching.
How far you understanding lah?
How far you understand? So ada markah ke dan sebagainya, then you can see the what patterns that come out from there lah. And the fifth is change leadership. So an educator doesn't have to become the world's greatest AI expert, but perhaps they become the person when the colleagues approach them and say, I tried this, what do you think? So you can advise them.
Okay, give their opinions also.
Give their opinion.
Okay, so digital professionalism isn't about knowing, I know 50 apps, you know.
Wow.
Kan?
Yeah. Knowing, okay.
Banyak tu.
So knowing which button to press isn't leadership.
Okay.
I'm the president. I know which button to press. That's it.
Senang betul.
So that's not leadership.
Okay.
Then everyone can press a button. So technology changes very quickly anyway. Kan? The more durable skill is understanding how to select which technology, question it, and apply it to a very genuine educational problem.
I see. Doctor, I think we should also talk about the uncomfortable side of the risks. Okay, AI isn't perfect. So what should educators be watching?
Four areas to deserve this attention. Bias is one. So AI can reproduce assumptions or gaps contained its training data. If it's bias lah. Okay, so make sure it's unbiased. Privacy is another. So we need to be careful lah. What about student information that goes into the external AI punya system?
Yeah.
And then academic integrity is a very obvious one. Students should be transparent about how AI was used. And the fourth is dependency.
I think dependency ni might actually be the hardest one, kan, Doctor?
Yes, I think so. Student will still struggle with problems, kan? Everyone struggle. If they don't struggle with problems, something is wrong.
Yeah.
So that productive struggle is part of the learning.
Yep.
Yeah. So every difficult moment, immediately you ask AI, you may accidentally remove the thinking process.
Yeah.
I have this problem, ask AI. I have this problem, ask AI.
Let's take the easy way out. Ask
You
AI.
don't even think, you ask AI. 1 plus 1 later, you ask AI.
Wait, I check AI first.
Remember the days when we depended so much on our calculator?
Oh,
We don't.
yeah.
So
We don't use our brain.
at one time we calculate with our pen and paper. Now with the brain, and now with calculator we always even
Nak cari calculator.
5 times 5, 5 times 2 also use calculator.
Just to make sure. Oh my god. Okay, I mean, just like using GPS, doctor, everywhere. Until one day your phone battery dies, and then suddenly you don't know where you are. That's it. Kita jam.
That's always happen. Sometimes when there's no network also, the waves hang. When it's hang, you don't know where to move. To
Kita lipat
to the
punya
right
tu.
turn or left turn, you don't know.
Right,
Because
right.
You get lost.
Correct.
So AI should strengthen our human capability, not quietly replace them. So we want students who can work with AI and think independent without it. So don't just leave to AI.
Okay. Doctor, one problem with technology programs is that people sometimes make them too big, too grand. Okay, we need an AI strategy. We need 20 committees. We need 3-year roadmap. You know what? By the time everything is approved, the technology has changed again. It's always like that.
That's why I always prefer small experiment. Pick one genuine problem.
Okay.
Maybe students are struggling at one particular concept. Maybe lecturers spend too much time preparing repetitive exercise. Maybe students need more practice before entering a lab. So these are all the genuine problems. Pick one of them. Then test one small idea.
And importantly, measure something, right, doctor?
Exactly. Don't come back and say, yes, we use 5 AI tools this month.
Awesome.
What do? I use 5 AI tools this month.
Okay, that one sounds grand already.
That tells me nothing. Almost nothing.
Okay.
So kan, tell me whether students are asking better questions. Are they understanding difficult concepts better? Are they making better judgments? Are they more transparent about how they use AI? Are they creating something new? So those are much better indicator of educational value rather than say, yeah, we use 5 AI.
I feel great already, no?
Be great. Yeah, champion.
Okay, doctor. Let's say, may I ask why matriculation and pre-university education matters, doctor? Why do you see matriculation as an important stage for this conversation?
Okay, kalau you tengok matriculation, there are schools, there are universities, there are industry.
Yep.
Okay. The school develop the foundation, knowledge, discipline, sekolah-sekolah ni lah. Then we move to university. They very specialized, buat research, knowledge creation. And then the industry is the one that give the real problem. They have uncertainty, decisions, economy dan sebagainya.
Okay.
Matriculation actually the bridge. So the bridge between the schools and the university. So this sits in the middle. So this is a very good stage to start developing their scientific thinking and learning maturity. We cannot allow the students from the school terus masuk university kata AI, this is how we use AI. We need to teach them how to understand AI and how to use AI simply not for the answering machine lah.
So before student enter university, they should already understand that AI isn't simply an answer machine.
Yeah, that's what I said just now lah.
Okay, tentu. Okay.
So if they enter the university believing learning means finding the fastest answer, then we have a problem. So we are not teaching them something lah.
Okay.
So I would rather when they enter the university knowing how to question and answer.
Okay.
Even they get an answer, still question and answer.
Still question it. Okay.
Test the answer, define the answer, create something from it lah.
Okay.
So the goal should be AI users who think,
Okay.
not AI users who merely copy, cut and paste, copy paste.
Macam biasa dengar je. Okay. Okay, Doctor. After everything we have discussed, are you optimistic about AI and the future of education?
Yes, provided we don't confuse technology with education.
Okay.
AI
okay.
gives us the capabilities we didn't have before lah.
Okay.
So immersive technology gives students the experiences that many previously have been too costly, dangerous, distant or abstract. So that's very powerful. But none of this technology actually decides what students should become. People is the one decide that.
Okay.
The educators the one that decide that.
Okay. So perhaps the educator becomes more important, not less. Okay.
Yes, more important. You cikgu-cikgu ada penting sekali.
Yes. Very important.
So if information becomes abundant, meaning becomes more valuable. If answers become very cheap, good questions become more valuable. If content becomes easy to generate, judgment becomes more valuable. If AI can perform more tasks for us, knowing what we should be done and why becomes even more important.
Nice. Okay, I like that, Doctor. AI can provide answers. The metaverse can provide experience, but educators still provide meaning.
The meaning part, yes, that's important. And perhaps the main message for this whole discussion, about nearly an hour, so leading change in education isn't about chasing every new technology you find in the market.
Okay.
So it's about making sure the technology helps us people to learn, think, build and grow.
Right. And maybe we should also stop asking students only, what did you learn? But we should also ask, what can you do now with what you have learned?
Yeah, a lot of times when we go to seminar, conference, we learn something.
Yeah.
It's not that. The question is, what can you do now after you have learned that? You have done to the seminars, training, whatever kan? You spend a lot of money doing that kan?
Yes.
So what can you do? So that, because eventually knowledge should lead somewhere lah. Learn, experiment, create, apply, and then you create the value.
Nice, Doctor. Alright, I think that's a good place to end our episode 56. Okay, so to everyone's listening, perhaps try one simple experiment after this episode. Don't try to change your entire classroom or organization tomorrow. Choose one problem, try one idea, measure what happens and learn from it. Dr. Mazlan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Zura. Always a pleasure.
And thank you to everyone listening again for our episode 56, AI Metaverse and the Future of Education. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe and share this episode at Spotify, Amazon and YouTube channels with your friends and